Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, are you guys ready to embrace the fact that you are the one you've been waiting for? Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. This one is the third book in our Shaman Heart series, and it's called We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For. I have a huge thank you to our lead authors of this book before I introduce the ones I have in my Zoom room to you. And Stephanie Urbina Jones, Jeremy Pager, Jorge Luis Delgado, all three of you are amazing leaders of this book. And there's so much gratitude to all of you for what you do in the world, for leading us in our amazing author's journey in Peru. That is what is a part of this book, you guys. We wouldn't be here without you guys and your big vision and mission to teach about we are the ones we've been waiting for. There's so many different ways that we're going to talk about it. And we're going to start today with these authors. Glenn Schuster is a published best-selling author, retired registered nurse, and licensed clinical social worker. Toltec Sacred Journey breathwork facilitator, minister of the healing arts, holy fire Reiki master, and co-founder of the Kokoro Sacred Healing with his wife, Amy. I have Lisa Martinez with me, and she says, your angels are waiting to hear from you. And she has been so blessed since she opened up this line of communication. Mandy Webb Hancock is here. She's the owner of Blissful Birth, Childbirth Education, and doula services, guiding parents to feel empowered and supported before, during, and after their sacred birth. And Mandy, we're going to start this party off with you today. Take a minute to introduce your chapter and tell us a little bit about the why behind it.
Hello, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I am Mandy Webb Hancock, and my chapter is chapter 16, Living Again, Healing After Birth Trauma. And my big why behind writing this chapter was to help other mamas heal. This experience that I had with my own traumatic birth and very traumatic postpartum recovery nearly broke me. And I survived. And so to be able to tell this story and hopefully inspire other women who are going through a similar situation, which 1 in 3 mamas have postpartum depression, 1 in 4 pregnancies end in loss. So this is a topic that affects many women. And so my big why was exactly that, to try to help others heal and move through this trauma and get to the other side of it and find some sort of purpose within that pain.
It's funny, I was watching a show recently and they did a whole episode on this topic, and I was so glad for it that they were bringing some awareness, because the effects to the mom are so intense, but it's something that feels, I think for many, maybe shameful. And yeah, like what else would you tell a mom about reaching out for help sooner rather than later, and about maybe that shame?
There is such a stigma around mental health still. And so these conversations are so important. And I think that there is a next level of shame that moms tend to feel, because we are meant to feel like we should be enjoying this phase and that it's supposed to be really exciting and joyful and full of love. And the reality is that it's not always like that. And so I just feel that it is so important to talk about these things while people are pregnant and immediately postpartum, and always encouraging those lines of communications to stay open with friends and with family, with doulas. That is one of the reasons why I became a trauma-informed doula, and postpartum bereavement as well, is because sometimes these conversations are hard to have with people that we know because of the shame. And so encouraging women to learn more about people like me who are here to help pave that way back to healing and back to wholeness. To be able to talk about anything for 7 minutes is all that it takes to start dissolving some of that trauma. And so, really encouraging people to talk about how they're feeling in any way, if it's good or bad, immediately after birth.
I've never heard the 7-minute rule. I like that. Yeah, and it makes sense too. It's like just the expression will begin to help that. You know what you're making me think of too? Um, let me hear what you think about this. But even with a birth that has no complications, the event is traumatic. And so even if you had the best easiest thing happen, like your whole body has changed, your whole life has changed, and probably some relationships around you have changed, and that is something to receive support for, no matter if you're having a really hard time or not, right? Yeah, I like your
1000%. I
yeah.
believe that every birth should be processed every time. And what that means is going through it with somebody who can kind of guide the way. And it doesn't have to be someone who's trained in that. It can just be your mom or your friend or anybody who's able to just allow you space to talk about it. But sometimes things will come up, even with if all good births, there are moments where maybe we didn't feel like things went exactly the way that we wanted them to. And we carry that and we think about it. And sometimes in certain situations, women have cyclical thoughts about these things, and it can really disrupt peace. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be anything absolutely major, is what common people would look at it and say, well, that wasn't a big deal, you still had a healthy baby, you still had a vaginal birth, or whatever you want to say is okay. But there are moments that stick out. And so that shame comes back around again because, well, I didn't have that bad of a birth. Maybe I shouldn't be having these thoughts. And that can spiral quickly, especially postpartum when hormones are not at their regular level.
Mandy, thank you for saying yes to this project and for being here today to share it with everyone.
Thank you so much.
So, Lisa, I'm coming to you next, and take a minute to introduce your chapter and tell us a little bit about your why.
Thank you for having me, Laura. My name is Lisa Martinez. I am chapter 14, and the title of my chapter is I Am You. And basically, my chapter is about communicating with your higher self, your angels, your spirits, spirit guides. I have this amazing ability to walk between worlds and see energies and interact with energies. In this physical world, we are only aware of a very small percentage of what is really around us. And we have beings and angels constantly around us, protecting us, trying to guide us. And we're completely unaware of it. I was unaware of it for, almost 50 years. And when I became aware of it and start to interact with these beings, my entire life changed remarkably. And the angels are constantly telling me to tell people to ask for help. They could only ask for help. I mean, they can only help you if you ask them. So ask, use that superpower resource. Why wouldn't you? I have had so many blessings that have my life has changed so remarkably since I've interacted with these beings, and they showed me the way. My chapter basically is about, went to Peru with Shaman Heart Group, and we it's about how I, with the angels, uh, got through some difficulties in getting to Peru and having some complications to get on the airplane and passport issues, but through interacting with the angels and guidance, I was able to get there with the little stress.
Just a little stress, right?
Yeah.
I loved that story so much. Okay, so here I am, and you're telling me they're all around me, and I don't know, Lisa. Like, how do I know they're all around me, and what are the signs of that support? And should I write to them or speak to them? It's a lot of questions.
Well, I would, go within, meditate, get quiet with yourself, and talk to your heart. Talk to your heart, and go with that first feeling, and then ask them for guidance. Ask them for signs. I gave in a part of my chapter a little bit of my methods on getting in alignment, so that I could have a clearer channel of communication with them.
I like the idea of the alignment, and I have certain signs that I believe are that for me guides, and I love that they're the same. They show up consistently. I think for somebody who isn't quite there yet with their awareness, or maybe they just aren't noticing, yeah, like what's that first thing you want them to do to get that awareness going?
Well, just I would say have faith. Have faith that there is, beings or a higher guidance within you and all around you, wanting the best for you.
Yes. It's important to have that faith. And then in terms of the speaking or the writing thing, you guys, like I do both. I'm a journaler, so I will ask for help in writing, but I also I'll back up what Lisa said. Like when you ask, and I mean out loud, you can do it in your head too, I'm sure. But
Yep.
like when you're having a day and you can get it out loud and real, like when it's out loud, it's real. And I love that piece of it. I don't know, it seems to put a little bit of extra power in it. What do you think
Mm.
about that, Lisa?
Well, I think, God wants to experience everything in every way. So everybody's going to be different. You could talk about it, you could sing about it, you could write about it, you could draw about it, you could run about it. There's a million ways you can do it. What feels right in your heart is the right way.
I love that. Yes, we can sing about it. For sure, we can sing about it. We're going to interview Bradford a little bit later. You guys are going to meet one of our sound healers and singers, and I'll have to ask him about that. Lisa, thank you also for saying yes to this project and for being here today. Glenn, you are up. Tell us a little bit about your chapter. What was your why?
Thank you, Laura. Well, I wrote chapter 8, and it's titled He is a Magic Man. To experience real magic, keep reading. I, my chapter is about healing. It's about changing your consciousness at will, and it's about being in control of your life. I For a good part of for 21 years of my life, I was in active addiction. Okay. And this coming May, I will have been alcohol and drug free for 40 years. So
Mm.
that story was a big part of my chapter. I like to start out every day with gratitude, and I do something that I learned the first time I went to Peru and kind of changed it a little bit to suit me. But I face the sun each morning and I say, thank you, Mother Earth and Father Sun, for waking me. Thank you for my life and all my remaining days. Thank you for my trials and lessons learned. And fill me with your love and light and help me to share that love and light with all whom I encounter today. And that usually helps me to have a pretty darn good day.
That's beautiful. I was listening to your words just now, and you guys, I hope you received that as your prayer too. Like that was lovely, Glenn. Thank you. Listen, that first chapter with addiction, that is not an easy road. And for you to be on another side of it, helping people with your medicine, your master teachings, is pretty badass. And I forgot to say earlier about the singing. You are also an incredibly talented singer and songwriter. Um, is that your way of talking to your guides sometimes?
It is, and well, I asked for guidance from my spirit guides, and I used to think that they weren't listening, but what I've learned is sometimes, maybe that it's just not time for the answer I was seeking. Maybe I'm not ready for that answer.
Yeah, it's a good question too. Sometimes you don't feel like you're getting the answers. Sometimes I wonder if I'm open to hearing the answer, or if I'm ready for the answer, or just coming back to what Lisa said about having faith and releasing the attachment to having an answer like right that second, like, because it can come in so many different ways. Um, so Glenn, in terms of your medicine, what do you want to help people understand with that?
Well, I think I want to help people understand that they can change their consciousness, their thinking at will. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. They can get rid of negativity and be start to be in control of their life with positive action. But like I said, it's a process. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a while, and it takes dedication. Some of the things that I do is I have a few mantras that have helped me overcome negativity, and I post them around the house, like on the refrigerator and bathroom mirror and places like that, so I can be reminded every day.
That's a great strategy. Everyone needs the daily reminders. I had a moment the other day where I was staring at a wall in my living room, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to put my favorite mantra I'm going to just paint it across the wall, because every time I walk by here, then it can be a reminder for me. Glenn, thank you also for saying yes to this project and for being here to share today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So, you guys, when we really embrace that idea that we are the ones we've been waiting for, that journey is very unique to each one of us. Lisa, give us an idea about what that's meant for you personally.
Well, um it means really getting in touch with myself and knowing that no matter what, my inner guidance has my back, and I could get through any obstacle that's put before me, because here I am. I've gotten past it.
Yeah. Um, so give us an idea of the practice that got you to that point.
Well, it was having faith um, in my higher self, and um, being open to receive the love that my higher self has for me. I meditate a lot. I go within a lot.
Did the turning point happen in your 20s, 30s, 40s? Do you
Well,
remember?
I remember very specifically what my turning point was. I myself am in recovery, and in 2018, I had a relapse, and it was very traumatic for me. And in the desperation of, the pain of, where I was and what I did and what was happening, I prayed and had a spontaneous Kundalini rising, which opened up all of my energy centers and allowed me to have this channel of communication, you know. And
I
it was
love
really an
that.
amazing experience.
It sounds like an incredible experience.
Yes.
Um, these things are possible. I'm talking to all of our listeners right now. And for me, I'm going to use that word detach again. For me, it's just, I got to get back to detaching from the outcomes and coming back to the practices that connect me with who I really am, the essence of me, remembering who I am. And Lisa, that, sometimes it takes a moment of trauma, a moment of shaking us up a little bit, a moment where we hit rock bottom. You guys have heard that a lot too. Um, to turn the corner. So I appreciate you sharing about your corner, because I think it gives people hope about what can happen for them.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So Glenn, this same question for you, the idea that we are the ones we've been waiting for. What has that meant for you personally?
I think what that has meant for me personally is I finally got to a point in my life where I realized all things are possible, and where that came from was the first time I walked on hot coals, and I got to the end of those coals and said, "What else have I told myself is impossible that, hey, probably I could really do if I just believed and put the effort into it?"
I love that. Have you all done that in here in the sim room?
I have. I
Okay.
have.
I got to do that for the first time with our fearless leaders, Jeremy and Stephanie in Teotihuacan, and that was an experience. So I love that you used that experience, Glenn, in answering that question. Um, in its moments like that, we figure out what we're made of, and then all of a sudden we open up to what is possible. I love that. I love you. Just gave me a total flashback to the moment in Mexico with everybody. I love it. And of course, I will shout Jeremy out for a minute, because he is a master firewalker instructor and facilitates that experience so professionally and with kindness, and his ginormous heart and all of the things, right? So we
Yeah.
love you, Jeremy, for helping us do that. Um, All right, Mandy, how about you? Same question. Like, when you're thinking about you being the one you've been waiting for, what has that meant for you personally?
Yeah, that rings so deep because in my own story and this one in the chapter, I had forgotten that and I lost myself. And I was really scrambling to just try to grasp onto anything that was going to pull me up out of this. And my best friend came over and she saw how I was and she reminded me of the badass queen that I am, actually. And it was like something clicked. She said, "You have got to stop this. We are going to get out of this." And she just really inspired me by helping me remember that. And it's very common for women postpartum to have these hormonal fluctuations where we are not really ourselves. And so being able to realize and remember that as well, that, okay, this experience is not me. And I have what it takes within me to rise above it. It was in that moment that I did it. And sometimes that's all it takes. And so that's why I really want to encourage people to reach out and talk to anybody, to a friend, because a lot of the time they'll be the ones to remind you that, hey, you have what it takes inside you to get through this. And I also would like to say that if you do have someone in your life who is struggling postpartum, or maybe they seem totally fine, I definitely recommend asking them, "How are you doing?" And then see what they say. Most of the time, they're going to say, "Oh, things are okay. I'm a little tired," or whatever. But then you ask them, how are you doing mentally? And that's a whole different level. And that helps them go within, because how are you doing mentally is here. How are you doing is like, oh, the baby's okay. And there's things outside that are, they're just existing. But when you go in, that will help anybody remember how to get to that inner place and that inner voice and be able to come back out of it on their own, because we are our own best healers. We do have what we need inside of us, but a lot of the time we've just forgotten, and we need to remember. We need to be reminded. So I'm hopeful that this chapter and this entire book is going to do this for people. I know it is, actually.
If yes, with an exclamation point at the end of that, yes. And that gets me to a big thank you to all three of you for not just for saying yes to that, but for stepping up to the challenge I gave you of bringing that story, that real vulnerable story into the book. And then all of you are stepping up as the master teachers you are in that second part of the chapter with your generous, beautiful medicine, your strategies, like what's working, right? And helping people to step through that experience for themselves. This is an incredible book, and because you all did that the way that you did it. So thank you all for doing that so brilliantly. I had a thought while you guys were talking about my meaning for I am the one I've been waiting for. And it had a lot to do with a certain period of my self-development where I was out asking for advice a lot, getting coaching, asking for advice, asking for other people's opinions. And you all probably get that, you got to be careful what kind of things you ask for in terms of feedback, because if you go out there for advice, you're going to get this end of the spectrum of advice and the total opposite end of the spectrum of advice. And so, of course, it came back right here to me. Like, who cares what everyone else is saying to do? What is your heart telling you? I am the answer I've been waiting for. And I am the only one that can answer those questions with that feeling of alignment, right? We talked about alignment a little bit earlier too. So that's big potato stuff. That is life-changing kind of moments. And to be able to rely on that message that's coming from your guides or angels and or your own heart, and probably that's a combo of both of those things, right? So I'm going to come to all of you now for this last question. And I really want to understand like what the most important thing you want people to know is about your topic. Glenn, the real magic. What's the most important thing you want people to know?
I think the most important thing I want people to know is they can be in control of their life. They can create their own future. Yeah, that's it. They can be in control and they can create their own futures. It's just a matter of some work, some time, and some dedication.
It's a great sentence to pause on today. If you're listening, really receive it, right? You can make those changes. You can create your life. It's a powerful one, Glenn. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mandy, the most important thing you want people to know about healing after birth trauma?
The most important thing, I believe, is that everything's temporary. And if we can just hang on to that and know that we have what it takes to get through whatever difficult time we are in at the moment, that thought and knowing alone can carry us through. Nothing stays the same. So if you're struggling and you're having a hard time, hang in there, keep breathing, reach out to someone so that they can remind you that you are the one that you've been waiting for. We have what it takes within us to heal.
Thank you, Mandy. Lisa, what's that thing you want people to know about trusting their inner guidance?
Oh, just like the angels are always telling me to let people know that They are around us at all times and are willing to kiss our feet, and are in awe of us and what we go through on planet Earth to survive and live, and they are at our disposal. Use that superpower, that resource. We have it all around us and within us.
Thank you for that. That's a great message to move out today on. To all three of you, authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share with everybody. Congratulations on this beautiful book. To our listeners, we hope you hop over to Amazon and grab a copy of it, because this is going to change your life. You're going to have a book full of heart-centered badasses, really teaching you their master life teachings, all in this beautiful book. A product of a very sacred journey to Peru with Stephanie and Jeremy, and also Jorge, who leads journeys in Peru. It's an incredible book with an incredible energy that is just so carefully curated to bring your vibration higher and to help you understand that you have everything you need right inside of you. I'm so proud and grateful to all of our co-authors for what they did in this book. And you also can join us for a book launch party, you guys, March 7th. So if you're listening to this interview in time, come on down to the show notes. You can join us on Zoom at 11 a.m. Eastern. I've got some links and information. If you heard something today that gave you the goosebumps, or maybe you have a question or need some support, this is way more than a book. This is a generous community of people ready to answer that question or help you with that support. So come on down into the show notes. I have everybody's bios there, and they're hooked up with their links. Go explore what they're up to in the world. They're there to help you out. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.